All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackbird News, where everything is connected. How y'all doing? We're live on Callin, Rockfin, and on YouTube. Thanks for rolling with the late start today. Sorry, sometimes just things absolutely conspire to not let me start on time. Yeah, that's how it goes. But greetings all. And let's see. Start here. On the screen is an address, my Cash App address, a really good place to support the channel. And you can find links, other links to support the channel in the description box of all the channels that I'm on. All right, let's just jump on into it. Greetings, everyone. And Gene, I'm doing fine. I hope you're doing well. We've got lots of people on the Rockfins. That's good. That's good. No, think no calls. Just looking at the quite interesting comments on Rockfin. Sorry, just reading a little bit. Drag Eye says, a reading of the January 2022 confidential RAND report laying out the deliberate USA destruction of Ukraine and German economy, all known ahead of time. That's interesting. Yeah, RAND, the RAND Corporation. I used to have a friend named Randall, and we all called him Rand, and I thought that was funny. I don't know why. I think because of the RAND Corporation. I thought that was a weird nickname. It's funny, too, because I'm hearing other people say that there's going to be a deliberate destruction of the U.S. or the U.S. economy. I don't know. Maybe all these things are real. Maybe there's several people with several different plans. Maybe there's several plans. Maybe there's ideas, bouncing around out there. And I don't doubt that there are powerful people that can make some of these ideas happen. I don't doubt it at all. We've seen it happen, right? There's past evidence that very powerful people have made things happen. Right, which were inconceivable, or much later on, people were like, "Oh, I see." But there are so many variables and nuances, and just because people make the plans or state that this is the plan doesn't mean that plan is going to come to fruition. Not if other people can help it. Not if the people can help it. Not if some people say, "Nah, I don't think so." Right. Except, unfortunately, climate change. I don't think it doesn't look like we're going to be able to raise our voices as one and go, no, climate change. I don't think that probably isn't in the cards for us, unfortunately. All the rainbows are full. Good. Interglacial optimist. That's great to hear. That's how you want it, right? Anyways, also remember that there's a lot of unintended consequences to the plans, right? I think there's, there's a thing called blowback, right? Or, life has a funny way, or the universe, or whatever you want to call it, Some people call it God. Some people call it universe. Other people just call it life. Life has a funny way of foiling those best laid plans, doesn't it? Isn't that, kind of just about as true as anything else in the world? Yeah, I keep seeing stuff about this, like September 20th or September 22nd or September 24th. German parliamentary opposition leader says it will be a day we will remember exactly how we were, where we were, and what we were doing. Really? That's interesting. That is interesting. Yeah, in maybe you should take all of these warnings seriously, and then also, that warnings come and warnings go. I've seen so many warnings. I've seen a lot of warnings in the last 5, 10, 20 years of my life. And once in a while, those warnings are like, oh, yeah, that one worked out. That one actually happened. So it's good to remain, it's hard to remain at attention when you get so many warnings that don't actually ever go anywhere. And then one of them actually comes up as true and goes whammo. There you go. I actually felt that way at the beginning of COVID. The very first tiny little reports we saw about COVID, I was kind of like, yeah, we've seen this before. I was one of those people. I was like, nah, I doubt it. And I was wrong. I was wrong on that day. But I've seen so many times when people are like, take all your cash out of the bank right now. I don't know how many times I've heard that. 50 times? On this day, there's going to be a big bank run. You better take your cash out now. If you did that every single time, you'd be like, what do I do with all my cash? And so I've seen another one of those for September 20th, right? It's going to be a big bank run. I don't know. Maybe you might want to be prepared. I don't know. I don't know. All right, let's talk about some things. I know it's late and I'm just kind of rambling. Somebody left a comment. There's some people think that fossil fuels aren't fossil fuels. They're abiotic. I've never really paid attention to that because what does it matter? I find that to be one of the weirdest arguments. Sure, fine. It's scientific, I guess. The argument over whether fossil fuels came from fossils or from other sources. I don't know. Maybe other people have ideas about this. I don't know. I looked it up on the Wikipedia just for a moment to see what I could see. I mean, it's not a very well. I mean, they're pretty balanced in their reporting of this because they're like, well, here are the people that think these things, and this is why they think them. A biogenic hypothesis was first proposed by Gorgeous Agricola in the 16th century, and various additional biogenic hypotheses were proposed in the 19th century. I mean, anyways, it's just not a well regarded hypothesis of where fossil fuels came from, or fuels, or hydrocarbons, I guess is another term. But I wonder, it seems to be something that like climate deniers say, or the people that are anti-climate change want to bring up it's not fossil fuel, but it's like what does it matter to me? In my mind, it doesn't. What does it matter? I'm gonna assume whether it's abiotic or fossil derived, it's a finite resource, and it doesn't matter what it does. It still has the same effect on the environment. Still has the same effect when you burn it. I find this. I don't know. Anyways. The abiogenic petroleum origin is largely discredited, a largely discredited hypothesis which proposes that most of Earth's petroleum and natural gas deposits were formed inorganically. Mainstream theories about the formation of hydrocarbons on Earth point to an origin from the decomposition of long-dead organisms, though the existence of hydrocarbons on extraterrestrial bodies like Saturn's moon Titan indicates that hydrocarbons are sometimes naturally produced by inorganic means. Great. Theories explaining the origin of petroleum as abiotic are generally not well accepted by the scientific. But I just don't understand why people get into this. I mean, it's fine. I guess it's a scientific discussion on some levels. But to me, it's one of those things like, I don't care. Okay. Whatever. I don't know why I brought that up. Just somebody left a comment about it, and I thought, oh, well, I'll talk about that for a second. Conclusion, for me personally, I don't care. Like, okay, if that's something you want to argue, have fun with that. I don't know. Does anybody know why it matters? Probably somebody can tell me. Oh, this is why it matters. I don't know. Yeah, I saw that. Stock market is tanking today. I don't know. Does anybody know why the stock market is tanking? Did they announce another rate hike, or did they announce some? Actually, I think. Maybe I know why. The CPI index came out today. Is that why? I know that I saw a couple of people talking about upcoming dates to look for in regards to the stock market and or crypto. Super high inflation numbers again? Oh, okay. Consumer price index, I guess, is. Why can't I even look this up? This is just so dang annoying to me. Come on. I'm trying to do a search. Milburn Stone says the debate is whether it's a renewing resource, maybe. Abiotic versus. All right, I won't even look it up because I guess I don't need to know that, right? Yeah, it's one of those things. Sometimes like the anti-climate change crowd can argue things that are just really like, and that has to do with what? Like, I'm just like, and I care because what? Oh, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, but that seems CPI. Disappointing August consumer price index, which showed that inflation is barely cooling off in the US, right? Well, yeah. It's same old. I mean, I watch the crypto markets They seem to just be doing like this. It's like every time something news story comes out, they go down and then they go back up, and then they go down and then they go back up. So it's kind of, we're in one of those like bouncing on the sea on a raft kind of situations where nothing is really moving significantly. It's like, you know, there'll be a big move up, and then some bad news will happen, and then there'll be a move down, and there'll be a move up. I don't know. Should everybody take cash out of the bank on September 20th or before? I don't know. Will I? I don't know. Maybe, but I've done that before. I've been through that game before. And let me tell you, the time that I actually thought, like, oh, this is when I should have had some prep and stuff. I do have a little bit of prepping stuff, but not a lot. Was COVID, when the toilet paper rolls were all bought up really fast. I was like, darn, wish I would have known to stock up on toilet paper. I feel like I'm just rambling today. Today is a rambling kind of day. Yeah, Scott Andrews, going to the grocery store will shock you. The prices will shock you. Yes, indeed. Every time I go to the store now, yeah, I'm like, well, that was annoying. The messed up thing about inflation, or let's say rising prices at the grocery store. I mean, yeah, gas prices will go down sometimes depending on what is going on. But prices at the store rarely go down. And that really pisses me off because there's, I don't know, maybe there's something to get in on there, I guess, if you're a financial wizard. But like the grocery stores, the prices go up, and other things go down. Gas prices go down. Maybe the economy gets a little better, but those prices just stay on up there, right? They might go down a little bit, but they pretty much stay on up there. And then the next time things get bad, well, they go on up again, and they just stay there again. And that's how prices work at the grocery store. And so, yeah. Reflect the Sun says, good idea, bidet. Sure. William, what's up? How you doing?
Can you hear me, Kev?
Yes.
Well, I heard you said it was a rambling day, so I thought I'd call in and see if we could ramble.
Okay, sure.
All right. Well, you nailed it. The CPI index, as you know, is only for staple goods, first of all.
Right.
It doesn't include housing. I think they eliminated that in the 90s. I'd have to look back, but it used to be, but not anymore. Right? Mm-hmm. So when I don't know what I don't know what they're saying the CPI index is now, if it's 9% or something. As you said, no one goes to the grocery store and experiences that in reality. So that's all fraud to begin with, even if you're just looking at staple goods.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yep.
So the government is constantly lying to us. That's the modus operandi. But then if you consider housing, right? And one example I can give, I know a lot of people would know if they're multi-generational in an area. Trumbull, Connecticut, outside Bridgeport, my father bought his house for $16,000 in a, moderate suburb. And that was, comps, all the houses were going for about roughly that. Do you follow me? Back in 1960.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in 2007, of course, the market was very high, and he sold it for under like $457,000. But just for sake of addition, let's round it to 480 because 16 times 3,000 16,000 times 3,000% would be 480,000. So we can say, whatever it was, 2,990. It wasn't 300% because 16 times 300 You see what I'm getting at? We're not
Yeah.
equal 480,000. You see what I mean? See that 480, around 457,000 versus 16. Now, what do you do to the house in the meantime? He put a small porch on it that he enclosed. Now, okay, what's that increase in prop? Not that significant.
Sure,
Do you
right.
follow me?
Yeah.
Right? Because of course the house aged that whole time, and it's a 47-year-old house. It's not a 10-year-old house.
Right.
So what I'm getting at is, we have been. What I'm trying to say is, like, it happens slowly. We're like frogs on a kettle, and we adapt, and then we're like, okay, and then we adapt, and
Yeah.
And you know what? It's a total. People don't even realize, compared to like George Carlin said, the American dream, because you got to be asleep to believe in it now. It is so whack now. Do you follow me?
Yeah.
That people, the kids today who are brought up, they don't realize how, maybe they hear from their parents or their grandparents, but what job? Okay, so what job? I don't know how. I'm not real good at math, but if we meaned it out, in other words, housing, reverse staples, and who said this? I just remembered. Is it Richard Wolff, the economist, who is his first name Richard?
Yes.
Sabby Sab, I was listening to her. She does YouTube and calling.
Yeah, she's cool.
She said,
I like her.
I really like her. Yeah, she's a good call-in too. Like you, she takes my calls. We have good talks, and she said, well, Richard Wolff says the minimum wage today, according to everything you're saying, Bill, factoring everything in, should be like $32 an hour.
Right.
So you can afford the home, and even if the rent, because used to be in 1960, that was like 15% of a family's income. Do you follow me?
Yep.
Of course. I think my mom told me, I think originally they were paying somewhere, don't forget I was little, I'm trying to remember, $60 to $80 a month for the mortgage. You follow me? Because, so, but what is it today? 60, both parents are working. If there are both parents, and they're looking at 60% of their incomes going just to housing. Right. How can they make it meet? There's no way.
Yeah.
And look at the inflation, would take an automobile. I remember my father's first Chevy Vega. You remember that POS Chevy put out? The little economy car? It was called the Vega.
I do remember that.
2-speed automatic with, what a piece of shit. It handled pretty well. But Ken, they had an aluminum block engine, and the pistons chambers were not sleeved. So at 70,000 miles, you're blowing smoke out there. You can't fucking believe it. You know what I mean? As far as
built-in obsolescence, can't get better than that.
Yep. And the difference between the materials they use in the head and the block, the head would warp, and the gas, and then you got it cooling into. But what a disaster that car was. Yeah. And the funny thing is, pardon me, I swore a couple of times. I know we're on YouTube. I forgot. But anyway, I thought so. It was a 2-speed automatic. So you punch it, right? And you get it on an entrance ramp, and you try to blend in with a truck. That damn thing would scream up in first gear to almost 50 miles, 45 to 50 before it dropped it to second gear. Wow. So, yeah, you're coming off the mark like, it's like Barney Rubble. Right. You can imagine. That was, and the Pinto. So what I'm saying is,
don't bring up the Pinto, sir.
The Pinto.
No, the Pinto was the Pinto was a death trap, right?
Go ahead.
That was a big story that they.
Yep. The rear engine the gas tank would explode, and the poor kids in the back seat, a lot of them became paraplegics because the seatbelt was too high.
Yeah. And
so what happens is Iacocca, big shot with it. He ends up had an AMC. Remember?
Right.
Like he's.
You still there? We lost you, William.
Hey, can you hear me, Cut?
Oh, you're cutting out a little. Couldn't hear you there.
Yeah, there was an incoming call I had to cancel.
Okay.
So Lee Iacocca, I'm trying the Gremlin. Oh, remember the AMC cars?
Oh, geez.
Holy crap. No wonder why American companies went bankrupt.
Yeah. Well, hey, William, do you want to talk about something else for just maybe a minute? Because I got to let you go.
Yeah, sure. What is it you like to talk
about? Oh, I thought you had something else in mind.
Well,
but,
I mean,
it's all good. We're just talking. It's all good.
We're on YouTube, so we can't get into
weirdness. Yeah, it is what it is. Well, all right.
What I'd like to touch on. Push back a little bit on the whole hemp thing, right? Because we had the sailing ropes and the sails were made of hemp. And then a farmer back in that day, they had to grow a certain percentage of the field in hemp to supply, the sailing ships and with everything they needed, and the paper and everything, the Declaration of Independence and everything was. Oh, I'm trying to get some notes I got on my table. Give me a second, okay. And so that was hemp, and so whatever market forces, that they want to do, but the statistics here, the significant something that's people don't realize, and I'll talk while I look for my notes. The cellulose level of hemp, best of my recollection, is in the 70-80 percentile versus a tree, which is around 30 odd percentile. Number one. Number two, hemp turns over. You can grow a hemp field and harvest it within, depending on the rain you get, 3 to 4 months versus 40 odd plus years for a forest, right?
Okay.
Now, when they wipe out a forest, you ruin all the biodiversity and they plant a monocrop. So we had the problem when I was in California with the pine beetle, for example.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And of course, you wipe out the biodiversity anyway, and you're wiping out the old growth canopy that can really act as the lungs and the big canopies. You know what I mean? Like, I've been out there in the sequoias. We have like 5% of the old growth forest left. Right. So the big lungs, the old lungs, that would absorb the CO2.
All those things, they're gone and they're going away. I've driven through the rock. I've driven all over, the western United States.
Oh, really?
And I've seen the decimation of the forest, right? And I know that they're going away. I can see, you can see that with your eyes, right? So like,
yeah,
it's a wonder.
It's really sad.
It's a wonder that people can't. I'm still amazed by people that have conversations about, everything is fine on the planet. I'm like, are you? Like what? Where do you live? Do you live inside of a box all day? Do you ever go anywhere? Do you ever take any stock of what's going on? Do you ever, are you paying attention to the things that are going on the planet? It doesn't seem like you are, because something is going on. I don't know. Anyways, yeah.
But I'd like to give you. I got a couple notes. I found my hemp notes, so this will take another minute if you like.
Yeah, okay. Let's do one more minute because I do have to get back to a couple of things today. Yeah, sure. I got to do a couple of things today. All right.
Yeah, this is cool. Okay,
yeah,
so
all good.
So hemp per acre sequesters 8.8 tons of CO2 a year versus forest per acre 2.5 tons of CO2. So that's only 30%.
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then you have, let's see, I'm trying to get to some keynotes here. There's a couple. Oh, paper mills are the third largest energy consumers, third largest industrial polluter. Don't forget, for some reason, they got to bleach it. Why? For office paper maybe, but,
right.
Right. Why are we bleaching toilet paper and paper towels?
It is ridiculous. It's somewhat ridiculous, yes.
It's all right. So, whereas hemp, they can use hydrogen peroxide for some reason if they want to. They don't need the same type of chemical process. From what this is just me doing research. I'm no expert in this field. This is just what I found available online. So, I think there's. I talked about the cellulose level, and then. Hemp paper you can recycle 10 times versus wood-based products 2 times because they break down.
That's interesting.
Hemp, yeah. And then, of course, we talked about. By the way, did you check out the Henry Ford's hemp car? The video I suggested. Did you happen to have time to look for that?
I didn't. No, I did not look for that. But I know that early cars were run on all kinds of things. Earlier cars were run on peanut oil.
Yep.
And I'm sure hemp on some level. And there was also early electric cars.
Yes.
The electric cars were killed very quickly by the oil companies. Yeah. And same with the other peanut oils and all that other stuff.
Yeah, you go. So the last thing about the hemp car I'll leave with, amazing. laminated with Henry Ford used for body panels. He laminated with a non-toxic resin, and the video shows them on the trunk lid banging on it with a sledgehammer. You can't believe this guy, and the sledgehammer is just bouncing off like ba-boing, ba-boing, and no damage, nothing.
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. So anyway, I appreciate it.
All right, thanks, William. I appreciate the info.
You're welcome. Bye now.
All right. Fantomas, give me in one moment because I do want to just well, let's see. Give me one moment, Fantomas. There was a really good comment on YouTube about make the Amish great again. That was good. All right. And I've said for years, living like the Amish is, the way to go. The way, if you want to beat climate change, I'm not saying, and people would argue with me that all the Amish, they do these terrible things over here, or they're not so great, or blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying as a model. I'm not saying be Amish. I'm not saying believe as Amish people. I'm saying do what Amish people do, and you'll be way closer to the mark. I'm not saying, but not everything is a perfect model, but yeah, if we encourage people to, they live a low energy lifestyle. They don't use electricity. They try to use horse and buggies. They use very few technological things. They live off the land. They grow their own food. They do things in a natural way. That would just be a really good place to start. Anyways, if we really wanted to do something for the climate. Anyway, so they're saying that inflation is... it's funny, these numbers are all over the place. Inflation rose 0.1% in August, but 0.1% towards what? And then they go down here and they're saying it actually rose 8%. And I'm like, what? Oh, I'm sorry. Where is it? I'm making people dizzy by scrolling through this. Inflation rises 8.3% in August, slightly higher than expectations. I love when they give two different numbers in the same article, right? Because in the headline it says 0.1%. Oh, 0.1%? That's nothing. Oh, inflation. You joker. But you go down the article and it says 8.3%. Oh. See how they lie to you? See how they mislead you? And they play with the truth? Man, I haven't even gotten into anything climate related today. Almost nothing climate related today yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there while we talk to Fantomas. Fantomas, what's up? Are you there? Oh, he hung up on himself.
Oh, no. I'm back now.
Okay.
I accidentally hung up. I just wanted to tell you about this. I guess it's sort of climate related, but not really.
Okay.
It's this organizing system called the brain, which is a visual database representative system for all of your topics. So it collapses and it can expand, and it's completely visual with strings and annotations and all of this shit. And they're on version 13. I'm going to send you a link to it, Kevin, because I think it'll really help you with all your stack of information. You'll be able to jump at something really, really quick.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, please.
It's crazy.
Send it to me. Okay, great.
So, yeah, I just wanted to mention that and get on with your climate stories, all right?
Okay. Thanks, man.
All right, later.
I thought when you first said the brain, I was like, are you messing with me? There's a thing called the brain. Why don't you use it? At first, I thought that's where you were going. That's funny, though. To me, in my mind, in my brain. But I want to see this magical device that organizes things for me. My problem is that I just start randomly talking about things, and one thing goes to another place, and another thing goes to another place, and then suddenly I haven't talked about anything at all. That's my problem. Stan Willenbring says, something I've confronted frequently and still do. I've explaining how GHGs or global greenhouse gases, exert their warming effect. Quite a few people say, I don't believe in the greenhouse effect. That's like saying, I don't believe in blood pressure. Right. And that's true. Again, the science is it's quite simple. It's a very simple thing, and you have to really get super complicated in order to tell people that the science isn't the science. And there has been so much skepticism from actual climate scientists. From within the scientific community. The scientific community itself was like uber skeptical for a long time. They're like, we don't know. Is this right? I don't know. Let's check again. They already did that whole thing like 50 years ago. They were like, let's check it again. We don't believe it. Let's check it again. They already did the skepticism part. And then they were like, after, I don't know, 6-7 decades of skepticism, they're like, yeah, this is actually, this is happening. So, coming in hot in 2022 with the skepticism is kind of like, I don't know. They already did that a long time ago. You're not bringing anything new to the table. Sorry to say. Random story, Beyond Meat is closing due to bankruptcy. I actually didn't check this, and that's my bad for not checking to see if a story is actually true or not. I shouldn't do that. I guess they are going to bankruptcy. I guess it doesn't look too good. It looks like they proposed settlement. Notice the current Beyond Meat stockholders of proposed settlement and dismissal with prejudice of derivative actions. So I guess Beyond Meat is not doing so good. So there's, I hate to say this, but once in a while, capitalism does actually do things like it doesn't make it economically feasible for something that, like, look, I don't have a problem. I'm a vegetarian, so I eat lots of fake meat. I'm not really a fan of Beyond Meat or those things, Impossible Burgers. I'm not really a fan. It's a little weird to me. And we've talked about what's in those, right? The fake blood, which is like a weird thing. They actually put the fake blood in there. So it looks like people just don't actually like this. It's just not it's not an economically feasible product. So there's a lot of people out there that are like, they're trying to force the Beyond Meat burgers on you. Well, not if nobody wants them, that it's just not economically feasible. And on that level, in that moment, capitalism is doing something. Once in a while, you got to say like, well, the market is speaking and saying like, no, this doesn't work for us. And so they're going to have a hard time, going forward, I guess. But anyways, looks like that's what's happening. Or people are too poor to buy fake meat. Maybe. Phony crab and Beyond Meat are poor marketing concepts. Yeah, well, and it's also like, and I often wondered that about electric cars too. And that was actually so Tesla originally, Tesla has run for a long time they weren't a profit making company, right? Along with like other companies like Amazon and right. Some of these tech companies that have been around for a long time now, Amazon banking profit for a long time though. They worked at a loss, and Tesla was the same way. And I often wondered, if electric cars would actually be economically viable or feasible. And if you can't actually charge them, it's not, then they're not economically feasible, right? So people have concerns about electric cars, what they do to the environment, and whether they're a an actual replacement for cars. And obviously, I think cars in general mostly go away, electric or gas powered. For the good of the environment, I think that they should mostly go away. We don't, not everybody needs to have a car or 3 cars or 6 cars or 10 cars. For sure, the people with 10 cars should not have 10 cars. Anyways, it's just, some things are just not great ideas, and they end up, taking themselves out. Still not a fan of capitalism or growth capitalism, but sometimes capitalism will work in your favor. Kind of like, well, I can't really say it now. Anyways, well, I guess I can say kind of like vaccine mandates. On some levels, it didn't work out because of capitalism. Because if people aren't willing to work and do that, and you have people quitting and your staff quits and you can't run your business, kind of messes everything up, right? So they become economically not viable. Interglacial Optimist says, I drive a Hummer 10-cylinder because I'm worried about electric car manufacturers damaging the environment. That's funny. Prankenschweier says, electric is better in a bunch of apps. Emergency vehicles should be the only fossil fuel users. And I actually agree with that for the moment, for the time being. All right. Let's see if we can talk about a couple more things before we go. I did start late, so I will continue past the 1 o'clock hour. But Beyond Meat, bankruptcy. Interesting. Let's talk about the beef or the meats. Mark Bevis says, we stole the land from nature for our pet cows, pigs, goats, and sheep. In 1961, there were 2.5 land animals farmed for each human. In 2020, there were 9.5, a 280% jump. That's 74 billion of them now churning through our farms, food systems each year. And that's what to feed. What was the percentage of growth of humans, the humans that eat those beefs and meats in that time period? I could look it up, but I won't. I'm lazy right now. It wasn't a 200. Was it a 280% jump in humans? I don't know. Did we go from? I know we doubled our human population in the last. It might have been. That might have been the space in which we did it. But that's 200, not 280%. Maybe, I don't know. As long as I'm refusing to look it up, I'm just sounding stupid. But anyways, it's a lot of, okay, the number is 3, there's something like the total number of vertebrates on the planet, 3% are wild. Something like 26, I want to say, or 30% are humans, and the rest are the animals that feed them. Well, that's different. Is pointing that out anti-human? That's totally different, right? 3% of the vertebrate animals are wild. And everything else is humans and the animals that feed them. If you're on a, if you trying to look for balance, the balance in things, if balance is good in nature or balance is good If something being out of balance is really bad for an organism, right? Like let's say within your body or, just in general, anywhere. If something is way out of balance, right? That generally lends to bad things happening. So are we out of balance? If 3% of the wild animals left, and we can, the debate is between 3 and 6% or 7%, but that's what it is. Are we out of balance? Anybody want to say no? I keep hearing people out there saying, it's totally fine. We have plenty of resources. We're not doing anything to the planet. Humans are the best. Are you sure about that? Are you positive about that? Are you absolutely positive about that? Do you really want to go? You want to debate that one? I want to know. From the big brains, I want to know. Holy moly. Hail fell in Dubai in 40-degree heat. That's not weird. It's not weird at all. It happens all the time. In Dubai. Golf ball hit by... Oh, anyways. Anyway, sorry. My bad. I'm trying to cover a story and then I'm like scrolling around. Anyways, yeah. Hail fell in Dubai in 40-degree heat. And that is happening all over the planet. Mexico City a few months ago. Seems to be a thing that's happening more and more these days. Endless heat also in Japan with more September heat records broken. Oh my gosh. More heat records broken? I think something is going on. Did you guys see the hail or not? There it is. I thought you saw it. Anyways, sorry about that. Yesterday, new records were set at Kosa, 36.3 Celsius, and Aki 34.4 Celsius, while today Aki rose further to 34.6 C, and Miki to 34.7 C. More records possible tomorrow as well. Super hot in Japan, super hot in Europe, still hot, still breaking records. That ain't hot. I know what hot is. Oh, let's look at this. From Boots on the Ground. You guys have seen this guy before? Have you all seen this guy on Twitter? He does interesting climate change news things. He was in Europe or England, I guess, for a while. I've seen quite a few posts of his from England. He says, I'd like to show you the beach where I learned to swim. Talk about the water temperature, lobster, and how the Washington Post is not accurately reporting on the climate crisis. Here we go.
Hey guys, it's William in North Haven, Maine. I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about where I learned how to swim, and I want to talk about an article that came out in the Washington Post yesterday. Okay, both kind of related to water temperatures and lobstering. So here we are. This is a place that we've had picnics and we've grilled food forever. And right down there is the beach that I learned how to swim on. So the article that came out yesterday, when I grew up initially, I learned to swim on this beach. The water was freezing. I mean, I remember going in and like absolutely screaming every time it would go in. But what's happening nowadays, I went swimming the other day and it was actually really quite warm. The Gulf of Maine, this is in Penobscot Bay, which is part of the Gulf of Maine. And the Gulf of Maine is really, really unique because it is warming in one of the fastest places in the world. It's warming 3 times faster than any other body in the entire world. And over the last 4 decades, this water right here is increased in temperature of 0.8 degrees every decade. All right, it's really lovely. There's a little bit of fog out here right now. So yeah, this water right here, it's been increasing 0.8 degrees every decade. In this article that came out in the Washington Post, it says, in the Gulf of Maine, the lobsters are fine right now, even though the bay is simmering, right? And, like to insinuate that the elevation of the temperatures are going higher and higher for now. But I've been talking with all the lobsters around here, all the lobstermen around here, and they say that the lobster population is dramatically decreasing, and all the lobsters are going further north. Okay? So you have a collapsing industry. All the local lobstermen say they're all of a sudden everything is getting really, really bad. I went out there yesterday, and these guys aren't catching as many lobsters as they used to, but the media is continuing to say that, we're walking a little bit, oh, there's really cool starfish. There's a starfish. Look right there, starfish. Starfish, you guys see the starfish right there? So, but the media is continuing to say that, oh, it's, even though the temperature is warming, the lobstermen are still doing fine. It's not true, okay? This is how the media constantly misrepresents the crisis that we're in. And they need to stop telling it like this, and they need to tell exactly what's going on. It's very the situation. That's it. All right, more news later. Take care, guys. Bye.
Anyways, I hope you all thought that was interesting. I did. That's called observation, right? To the people that think that climate change is only about models and it's just some scientist, just some nerdy guys sitting in a room playing with computers, and that's how climate change is made. No, it's not. Sorry. There's actual real observation, on the ground observation by several, people everywhere, all the time. You can see that Lake Mead is disappearing. You can see that Lake Shasta is disappearing. You can see that Lake Oroville is disappearing. You can see that the trees are disappearing if you drive through the Rockies. You can see the, vast swaths of dead trees. You can see it with your own eyes. This man is telling you that the local lobster industry is changing, is going away because the waters are what? What are they? They're warmer, warming, warmer. So this is that's another way that it's climate change is, another way that climate change is shored up by actual observation, right? Another way that it is proven to be happening. And there are other, lots of other on the ground observations, right? Beachfronts disappearing. That's another one that people, say, oh, the rich people are buying beachfront houses. That proves that climate change isn't real. Does it? Does that really prove that climate change isn't real, that rich people are buying beachfront houses? That they're buying houses that aren't currently affected by climate change and that they're rich. Did you know that Trump has a golf course in Scotland that is building a seawall? Why? Because of, what about that one? Trump, climate change isn't actually a thing. Trump, that guy, building a seawall at his golf. That's actually happening. Not just cities in the U.S., but countries all over the place are building or have plans to build gigantic seawalls because they see where this is going. And there are houses falling into the ocean in South Carolina. It's just. It is not a thing. It is not a thing. You can't actually see things that are happening in front of your own face and go like, nope, that's not happening. It's all about models. All right. Your arguments are null and void at this point. They're not just thin. They're just not even arguments. They're just, I don't know what you're talking about at that point. But feel free to keep on giving people misinformation. It's awesome. It's awesome when people do that. All right. You know what, guys? That about does it for me. I think I'm going to call it a day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow at the regular time of 12 p.m. Pacific. And we'll cover more stories and we'll talk about more things. Thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Until next time. Peace.